How you bitches like Jump Street now?
Hey.
I got a big ass raise to babysit you two fuckers again.
You going back to high school?
No, you dumb motherfucker. Your ass look like you about 50. You going to MC State.
Play on, play.
Why every time you speak I want to throw the fuck up?
So Simon, there's not often you can say that there's many sequels that are better than the first one, or even live up to the first one. I mean, what do you got? Like Aliens, I suppose, although some people would dispute that.
Yeah, well, I would agree with the Aliens. Terminator 2.
See, I would dispute that.
The king.
I prefer Terminator 1, but Terminator 2 is often seen as the bigger, badder sequel. The Godfather Part 2, I think that's fairly...
That's well known as being it.
Yeah, it's
They
well
even reference that in Scream 2, and Scream 2 is a superior Scream film.
I haven't actually seen Scream 2.
I think it's the best one of the trilogy. I haven't seen the fourth one yet.
I've seen the fourth one. It's okay, yeah. But we have another great sequel in 22 Jump Street.
If I've got to say, this is probably the greatest sequel compared to the original ever, and the original was good.
I mean, I can't believe I'm sitting here saying that we've got a great sequel to a film that I thought was going to be awful.
Yeah, but then that's what we thought about going in to see the first one.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, with the first one, I heard the first one was getting made. I was like, who really wants this made? I mean, 21 Jump Street's it's like a forgotten relic of the 80s. You know, launched Johnny Depp. Well, it helped. That's one of the things that launched Johnny Depp's career. But other than that, it's not really famous for anything. Well, maybe it is in America, but certainly not over in the UK. And I was like, well, Jonah Hill, you know, when that came out, he was still kind of doing just like a lot of comedies that were somewhat hitty-missy. And I didn't really like Channing Tatum all that much. He was starting to win me round a little bit.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like him that much. He still kind of put me off films. But I remember going to see the first one, just kind of on the off chance. And I fucking loved it so much. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Like, not only did Channing Tatum won us over with just 21 Jump Street. Jonah
Hill's really gone from strength to strength since then.
Yeah, he really has, and he's broadened his horizon since then, you know, being in, like, The Wolf of Wall Street and the rest of it. But what I didn't expect, though, is that the two have such a great chemistry. And Channing Tatum's actually quite a good comedic actor.
Yeah, he is. He's really good at physical comedy, I find, as well.
Yeah.
In his timing, he almost plays a straight man, but, like, so straight it, like, bends around to being a stupid man again.
Yeah, he's really good. I couldn't believe the first one worked as well as it did. And when they were making a sequel, I was like, oh, I'm always like, when a film surprises me or comes out of nowhere, and it's based around like a kind of a one-note concept almost, I'm always kind of a bit hesitant. Like, I was with The Raid 2, I was really hesitant about that getting made. And then, you know, this is probably even harder to pull off than The Raid 2, because at least The Raid you can just go crazy action and kind of hope for the best. Whereas this, you know, comedy's a lot harder to do a second time and do it better. But goddamn, tell you what, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller coming off the Lego Movie, they're on fire with like.
They're having a good year.
They're having an excellent couple of years. I mean, they're just moving from one good thing to another.
They haven't actually missed a note with any project they've done.
Not really. They kind of just moved from good, like, you know, great project, good project to good project. I mean, what was the last one? They did the Lego Movie. And
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2.
They didn't direct that. I think they produced it.
Right, okay.
But they did direct the original, and obviously 21 Jump Street. To be fair, these guys actually haven't got a lot under their belts with regards to directing. They've done a lot of writing. They actually wrote a couple of How I Met Your Mother episodes.
Oh, did they?
Apparently so.
I'll have to have a look.
They also created the story for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, but I don't think they wrote the screenplay. I think they came up with the kind of outline.
Well, to be honest, that's a hard job in itself, since the book it's based on is just pictures, I believe.
Yes, I understand. Well, the original one was, I think the second one is a completely original tale. Like, it's not based on anything, really. Because, as you say, the first one wasn't really based on the book either.
No.
But, I mean, come back to 22 Jump Street. Goddamn, if I'm not pleasantly surprised by how good this movie is.
I was genuinely ill when I left, because, like, my stomach had been jolted from laughing so much.
Yeah,
it was damn funny.
It's fucking hilarious. And I'm trying to describe it to people who've seen the original, and they're like, oh, so, you know, like, is it good? I was like, yeah, oh, well, what's it about? And you kind of say, well, it's exactly the same And they're like, really? Why is that good? And it's because it knows it's the same. It actually embraces the fact that it's pretty much a carbon copy of the original
all the way
movie.
through. There's so many references to the fact that it is the same, and that it's just ridiculous.
It not only does it take the piss out of like all the stupid shit that happened in the first film, it actually takes the piss out of like the actors in it. Like there's a bit where they're basically Channing Tatum's like, oh, I've got a great idea what we can do this time around. We can infiltrate the Secret Service and protect the president from terrorists. And everyone's just looking at him going, no, that's a terrible idea. And he's like, well, I thought it was good. Yeah. And it's just basically taking the piss out of him for doing White House Down.
Yeah.
And
there's so many just like meta jokes, which like in the first one it touched on it, but there's literally a scene where Ice Cube lists the budget for the film.
I know, and he's listing it in such a way that it's like, oh yeah, it's the department's budget.
Yeah,
but it's blatantly the movie's budget.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And I mean, talking of Ice Cube, he's in this a shitload more than in the original. Like he was kind of in there to be the angry black captain, but I think they realised he was quite popular in that role.
Yeah,
and they put him in this a lot more, and he's fucking hilarious in this movie. Oh my god, I loved him so much.
It's the scene when Channing Tatum works something out. And it spends 5 minutes jumping around the room, and Ice Cube just stood glaring.
I love it when he's at the buffet line as well. And I especially like the little cameo from his wife.
What? Who was it? It was
Queen Latifah.
It was.
But she's only in it like 2 seconds, but I thought it was just a nice little like a cameo. It was quite fun. But yeah, man, this movie is the same fucking movie. They literally outline it at the beginning. They have got to infiltrate. I mean, instead of high school, it's now college. That's about the only difference. But they've got to infiltrate college, find the supplier for this new drug that's leading to people's deaths, and then and arrest the supplier and kind of cut it off at the source. And that's pretty much it.
It's obviously they think it's going to be slightly different, but it's like they're signposted all the way through that it's going to be the same.
Oh yeah, but they're saying like, oh, maybe we should do something different this time. And Ice Cube's like, no, you do stick to what you're good at. Exactly the same. Infiltrate the dealer and find the supply. I just thought it was really fucking good, but it rehashes so much of the original movie. But yeah, it's so self-aware, and it uses it to such great effect that it's absolutely hilarious. There's like in the original movie where they have to take the drugs they're meant to be kind of bringing down, and they have a complete freak out. They do that again in this. Yeah. But it's like it's very different in what the effects of the drugs and everything. But it's like they're doing exactly the same thing again. But it's ridiculous because it's so self-aware. And what I liked about that as well, it didn't dwell on that half as much as it did in the original, because I think they knew that, look, we've done this before, it's just it's another little reference back to the original. Let's move past it quickly. But I just thought, and
there's an interesting flip as well that happens. So in the first film, they obviously have to break off slightly to do their own, like to fit in with their own persona.
Yeah.
But in this, like in the previous one, Jonah Hill ended up being the cool kid because all the kids liked the stuff he liked. But by the time they jump back to college, they're all like Channing Tatum again, so he becomes the cool kid again, and Jonah Hill gets left behind and feels left out like he used to.
Yeah, and you know what? I was sitting there going, at what point do these guys realise they probably shouldn't be friends?
Yeah.
It's like, how many times can their friendship be jeopardised by their mission before they realise they're probably not that good of friends in the end of it? But I think what I loved as well is Jonah Hill's character Schmidt. His parents are back in it, even just for a little bit.
Yeah, that was...
They were really funny in the first movie.
I wish they'd brought a picture of him dressed as Fred Savage again.
I forgot about that, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did really like this movie. It is a complete rehash, but it is very, very meta and self-aware. And it's got a few cameos and a few kind of winks and nods to the original series, much like the first movie did. That were quite good. Yeah, I mean, what I liked as well is Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. I kind of they just slip back into it really easy. They've got great chemistry on screen together.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I think the action was up a notch again this time around.
Well, a bigger budget.
Yeah.
Which is referenced a lot.
Because I'm gonna like the final sort of, I wouldn't say third of the film, but certainly deep into the last act is the bit where they go down to spring break, and that must have been all location shots and car chases, and they must have had like thousands of people on that beach as extras. I'm willing to bet they probably filmed at a proper spring break.
Well, that's it. I mean, whereas the original movie set in high school and the climax takes place at like the kind of pinnacle of the high school social calendar at the prom, this takes place at the college equivalent at spring break. And everything's just kind of bigger and crazier. And the kind of, I suppose the villain, or at least one of the villains in this, is a guy called simply known as the Ghost, and it's played by Peter Stormare. Yeah, and I fucking love Peter Stormare. He just pops up in some like really weird places, and it
was nice to see him again. I haven't seen him in a while.
I know. I was watching Fargo the other night, and I forgot that's like probably the first thing I really saw him in, is just this like psychotic murderer. But I really like him. He's quite funny. Like, despite him always playing like villains and bad guys and murderers, he's actually quite funny with it.
Yeah, he is
in a slightly bizarre way. But
he's one of those villains that you can't help but like.
Yeah, you always like him. He's just kind of got this kind of very laid back and laid back kind of menace to him. Like you think he'd be quite a good boss if you were a gangster, but you wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him.
Well, but, he has hired the Mexican Wolverine.
I fucking love that joke. That guy, to be fair to him, did look like the Mexican Wolverine.
Yeah, he did.
That was such a good fucking joke. But it's a really good sequel, I thought. It didn't really disappoint. It not only did it not disappoint me, it impressed me. I didn't expect that. I expected it to be kind of phoned in slightly, maybe a bit lazy, cashing in for the sake of it. But it doesn't do that at all. It really, really goes above and beyond and really, really tries to be something special.
If you think of it on... Well, I'll compare it to A Million Ways to Die in the West in terms of laughter. That was, you were always smiling to yourself. Every now and again you'd laugh out loud, and then every now and again a few jokes would fall flat.
Yeah.
Like, in this, it was just like every joke at least hit the mark, but the vast majority were laugh out loud, and they were constant. They weren't as spread out as in the other one.
No, you're right.
This was relentless.
Was a fucking hilarious movie. I mean, it was constantly kind of like chuckling out loud, and then frequently laugh out loud, kind of holding your sides.
Yeah.
There's just some.
Did you stay for the credits?
The credits are the best credits I've ever seen. I fucking loved them. I don't want to spoil them because they're a real fun surprise, but just that I really wish they would go ahead and go through with all those things.
It's the sort of crazy idea that Chris Lord and Miller will do. We've signposted the next 30 films, and we're going to do them in that order.
I fucking loved it, man. It was amazing. I really would like to see all of them. I mean, you could do just like shorts, just like half an hour long shorts, and I'd be happy just for all of those different ideas that threw out at the end.
It was the bit when Seth Rogen turned up.
I know. It was amazing, and he keeps getting his name wrong.
Yeah, on Jenkins.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. In fact, that was one of the things. That's like one of the things that stuck with me most from after having watched this movie.
Yeah,
it was just inspired. It was amazing.
I think the main reference that stood out to me, apart from all the meta jokes, was the Spider-Man reference.
What was the Spider-Man reference?
It was when they were Channing Tatum was dropping down from the building ledge by ledge, and Jonah Hill's running down the stairs.
Oh yeah.
Did you not pick up on it?
Maybe I didn't.
Well, it's like Jonah Hill's going on, and he's like, I can't do what you're doing. I'm not Spider-Man. He's like, don't be stupid. Like, anyone can do this. You don't have to be Spider-Man. And then he launches himself off the wall, and he's dressed in blue and orange outfit because he's in his football uniform. And he does the Spider-Man pose that Andrew Garfield does.
I really did not pick up on that at all. That's amazing. God damn, I need to watch this movie again.
Well, there you go. There's definitely things that probably I missed as well then.
Oh yeah, it was packed full of stupid little gags like that, but just really fun though, and like, you know, as you see, you miss them if you don't like fucking look for them. But
I tell you what though, there's two things that we both missed.
Oh really?
Because there's something, Simon's pet hate corner of the podcast. They had stuff in the trailer that wasn't in the film.
You'd mentioned that, yeah, and I like you saw this before me. You saw it a few days before me, and you mentioned that, and yeah, you're right. There's a lot in the trailer, a lot of kind of big budget action that they obviously didn't put in at the end. Obviously, because they had to rebalance the budget they had, because obviously it has a real impact on the story. Yeah, that does happen.
But never mind, it was a good film nonetheless. And my auntie actually just was on Facebook and she was asking me, "Have you seen 22 Jump Street? Is it worth my money? Because I'm not too sure." I was like, "Go and see it."
Oh yeah, I actually saw that, and I nearly put like, "Oh well, our review will be available soon."
I almost put that as well, but it's one of them films that I just want everyone to see while they can.
Yeah, it's hard not to recommend it. If you liked the first movie, then you'll fucking love this. This is a slightly stronger movie overall.
Yes, I think so as well. It's definitely more balanced. I actually sat and watched the original last week, and there is times when the pacing's a bit off and it gets a bit slow.
I remember when I showed our friend Paul, the movie when he was over mine once. He'd never seen it, and he was surprised that I thought it was so good. And we watched it, and he really enjoyed the first one, but he did make the comment that the story kind of takes over a little bit towards the end of the first movie. That's not really the case here. The story's there, but the jokes are always thickly laid over the top of it as well. They don't trail off a bit like they did in the original movie.
Yeah, I mean, when they get to spring break, it's just... They go down there with the intention of continuing the investigation, but after like a minute, they're back into the final confrontation. It's like it doesn't waste any time. Which, if this was a drama, if this was a Scorsese film, you might want a bit of build-up. But with a Jump Street film, I was quite happy for them to just like, oh, he's over there, let's go shoot him.
Yeah. It was, yeah, you're right. It was pretty fast paced. It was, the laughs constantly came. I thought it was nice to see. There's like quite a few little cameos. Like you've got Nick Offerman, who's obviously the chief of police. He was in the first movie. He's only in it like twice. But he's really fucking funny when he is in it, making loads of meta jokes. And there's also a kind of brief cameo from quite well known voice actor. Was it John H. Benjamin? Who is the voice of Archer in the TV show Archer, and Bob of Bob's Burgers.
Oh yeah, who's in the film?
He is the coach, the American football coach who cemented in the what do you fucking call them? The goalposts? Are they still goalposts?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
He cemented in the goalposts, but like. He usually gets by because of his voice is quite distinctive. He gets by largely on being a voice actor. And he barely says two words in this. I just thought it was nice to have him in the background. And actually, I had to do a double take with him. I was thinking, God, he looks familiar. And then he said something kind of quickly. I was like, is that Johnny H. Benjamin? It kind of is. But I fucking love the fact that he's a coach, though, because one of his best characters he ever did was Coach McGurk on this little remembered Cartoon Network series called Home Movies. Oh, yeah. If you get a chance, look him up. There's a couple of kind of greatest of Coach McGurk reels on YouTube. They're fucking hilarious, and it's the type of humor that just goes over kids' heads and should never have been in a kids show. It's ridiculous. It's really funny.
I think I can remember watching it as a kid.
You probably can. It was really roughly drawn, and it was about a kid who used to make home movies with his friends. And Coach McGurk was obviously he was his coach at school, but he was kind of like a surrogate father to him, giving him life lessons that were fucking terrible because he was a car crash of a man. But so I mean,
I like seeing some of the cast from the first one are back, like that. The nerds are back, but they don't even barely talk. But it was nice to see them.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little reference back to the original.
And I really like that. There's that spunky girl who's just like Mouth, who works for Jump Street.
the spunky black girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was it she says to them in the original where they're finger popping each other's assholes?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's back in it briefly.
Yeah, I like that. I like a film that pays service to the one that came before it.
Yeah, this really does. It gets everybody on board, within reason, because there's another girl in the original movie who, she's like a blonde, long-hair girl who's part of the 21 Jump Street program.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name. I'm just trying to look it up here. But she's not in this movie. But she is going to be the lead in 50 Shades of Grey.
All right.
I can't remember what her name is. She's somebody else who's famous as daughter. I can't remember what the fuck she's called. But she's not in this one, probably because she's doing 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, I know where I would rather be.
Dakota Johnson, I think. Yeah, Dakota Johnson.
Is that Dwayne The Rock Johnson's daughter?
No, Don Johnson of Miami Vice and Melanie Griffith. So yeah, she was in the original, but she doesn't come back to this. But as I say, she's I'm sure she's making 50 Shades of Grey, or has been making 50 Shades of Grey. But there's pretty much she was such a minor character in that anyway. It didn't matter. But yeah, you're right. Most a shit ton of people do come back because you've also got the villains from the original movie.
Yeah, that's good.
Coming back in.
I love the coach is funny enough, but Dave Franco is one of my favourite actors who hasn't hit the big time just yet.
No,
he's so funny. He's got such a grating voice.
I know he has, hasn't he? He's he's just annoying. He's got such a smug face as well.
Yeah.
But I thought he's really funny in that scene. He's just so fucking depressed and oh my god, what has my life become? And I always love.
I'm not your bitch. I mean, you're not my bitch.
I love Rob Riggle. He's always fucking funny. He's just ridiculous. And some of the stuff he comes out with this movie is just it's so far fucking fetched. It's just ridiculous.
Do you think we'll see 23 Jump Street?
You know what? I would normally say yes, but the way this ends, I kind of think that was their way of saying, look, we're not this. We were lucky to get 2 movies out of this that we're happy with. Let's not push it too far.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do the same, to be honest. I mean, when they announced 22, I wasn't unhappy they announced a sequel because I loved the first one. I want to see a second one, but I feel that a third one, you can't repeat the same joke that many times. Yeah,
you'll have to do something different, and obviously,
and then you lose
their strengths.
Yeah,
the thing is, I think the ending of this made fun of all the different stupid shit they could have done to milk sequels.
Yeah,
but I also got the impression that was kind of like a kind of a fun farewell to this franchise, and I'm quite happy to do that. End on a strong note because. I mean, these movies, the Jump Street movies are a lot stronger than what I'm going to compare them to. But the Hangover movies, the second one was a rehash of the first, and
but it paid no service to the first one, really.
That's right. It didn't accomplish it in the same way this 22 Jump Street does. It didn't reference it. It was just literally retreading the same ground in a different setting. This isn't. This retreads similar ground and makes fun of itself for doing so.
Yeah, that's what The Hangover 2 needed to do. And then The Hangover 3, which I haven't seen, but I understand it changes the format completely.
Yeah, well, they took criticism on that, the fact that the second one was just a rehash, so they said, all right, we'll do something completely different, but then they forgot to make it funny.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I don't think Lord and Miller would necessarily fall into that trap, but yeah, you're starting to have to juggle a lot more balls than just taking a piss out of yourself for what you did. That you kind of pulled off a miracle in the first place and then revel in the kind of fun of that. Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if I never see another Jump Street. I might be more upset to see a subpar extra movie.
Yeah, I would hate to see a subpar one of these because this is a franchise. There's only 2 films in it, but they're both so strong and classics almost already.
I think these are some of the strongest. I think as a series, this is possibly the strongest kind of Hollywood comedy series that's come out in a long time. Mm-hmm. So
definitely.
Yeah, I don't want to see weak entries into it. And to be honest, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller have done let them go and do other shit. They've done some crazy stuff when you just let them go and do what they like. I mean, Lego. Who the fuck thought that was going to be a success? But it was, it was a good fun movie, and that's what they do. So I'd pretty much like to free them up almost and let them do something else. And I don't think this would necessarily do particularly well under somebody else's wing.
Yeah, I think it needs them because they've got this sort of bizarre vision that no one else seems to be able to tap into.
Yeah, they just take things that should be shit and make them quite good. And I think it would take somebody very, very talented to do the same thing. And it's a risky business. I'd rather not see it. But 22 Jump Street, fucking hell, it's a really strong way to end the Jump Street. And let's face it, 20 years down the line, there's probably going to be another reboot with fucking old-ass Jonah Hill and old-ass Channing Tatum making an appearance. Like, that would be quite good.
Infiltrating an old people's home or something.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. I'd like, see, if they'd waited, like, a long time and then did something stupid like that, that would be funny.
Yeah,
and I'd quite happily... But like, there's only so much you can do with infiltrating schools and colleges. Like, literally after school and college, what else is there apart from all the stupid shit that was suggested in the end of this movie? Like, there's nothing really concrete that you can make another movie out of, I don't think.
Well, yeah, because then the only, like, if they're going through your sort of 8 stages of growing up, the next one would be going to work, but that's just like what a normal cop would do.
Yeah, so it would just be them fucking up doing normal cop stuff. It would basically become like a really shit Lethal Weapon.
Well, yeah.
Like, just them bumbling along. But, yeah, I mean, I'm coming back to 22 Jump Street. I thought this was a surprise movie. It was almost as big a surprise as the original one because I didn't really have huge hopes for it. I was very tentative about it. But not only did I enjoy the hell out of this, I felt it was a slightly stronger movie and certainly a worthy follow-up. And I think I'm going to give this 4 stars.
I'll give it 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Value for money on my free Cineworld Unlimited card, ching.
When's the check coming in the post for our commission?
There better be.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you probably give it 5. I'm going to give it 4. Just because I'm stingy, basically. But yeah, I thought it was very funny. Not many movies have I seen that were so meta but funny about it. Like, I think Scream tends to get a little, like we mentioned Scream before. Scream tend to get a little bit too wrapped up in its meta at times, whereas this kind of just makes light of it in a great way. So I thought that was quite good. But yeah, I'd like to see Channing Tatum do more comedy.
Yeah, well, I just want to see him do everything because he's mint. But comedy is the one part of his sort of roster that's like diminished compared to the rest. So yeah, another comedy would be good for him. Like,
it's like I think we've said this before, but Channing Tatum's like, I've got a real soft spot for him because when he turned up and he was making awful films, like what was that one where he was like a street fighter or something? It was awful, and he turned up and made a lot of shit for a long time, and he kind of played like the pretty boy in kind of second-rate rom-coms. And
was he in Step Up? Is that what he was, the dancer?
Oh, was he in Step Up? Was he? Shit, no, he was in Step Up 2. Oh, he's in Step Up 1 and 2. Jesus Christ. Fighting was that one where he was like a kind of fucking street fighter or some shit, and he was in a lot of really, really shitty movies. He was in The Dilemma. God damn, I hate that movie. He was in that.
That's the one. That's your yardstick for shit, isn't it?
Well, I saw it and I thought, it was so bland I didn't get offended by it. But Paul, he fucking despised it with a vengeance. He absolutely hated it. But it's not a very good movie, but he's in that. But then he started making slightly better movies, and he seems to really be trying to push himself to be a half decent actor. And I'm not going to sit down and say he's like fucking the next De Niro or Pacino or anybody like that. But in the right part, I think he can be quite good, and he's likable, and he's quite he's quite handsome. He's very popular with the women. I think he's got the potential to be quite versatile and be around for quite a while, and I like that. And he's going to be fucking Gambit in X-Men, so it's going good for him. Well,
looking forward to that. I think it's great casting.
Yeah, I really like it. And not to fucking overlook Jonah Hill, he's really hitting like the serious acting hard with the likes of Wolf of Wall Street, and he was in Moneyball the other year, and he's going to be in another film with Leonardo DiCaprio as well.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So, the thing is, if you go back and watch, Superbad, there's hints in that movie that he is probably the best actor in that movie. He rattles off really kind of long and complex monologues and just nails them all. And you can kind of get a feel that he probably, he could amount to something when you go back and watch that movie. And I think out of all the Apatow stable, I would never have pegged him as the one to do the best, because let's face it, he's kind of. I think he's better than fucking James Franco as a serious actor.
Oh, I think so, yeah. I really don't rate James Franco.
I'm not that fussed for James Franco myself. And like, you would never have thought Jonah Hill would necessarily like surpass him as far as kind of ability goes, at least in my opinion. Obviously, some people would disagree. But yeah, so what was it? 4 stars from me and 5 from you?
Yeah. So, what do we have a 4.5-star rating?
Yeah, I can conjure one up. We can do what we like. It's our own website. So yeah, that's 4.5 stars for 22 Jump Street.
Hey, listen, there's a grenade!